If I got plugged into the civilized machine, it will spit me out overweight, uninspired, addicted, having no good relationships, depressed, disconnected from my heart, disconnected from nature, disconnected from source or whatever you want to call it, probably divorced a couple times, looking at porn. There's a razor thin line between living the life that you want to live, that's soul-led, that's heart-led, that's relational. What is unnatural is to be disconnected from stillness. What's unnatural is to be disconnected from silence.
Recently, I had an opportunity to sit down with my friend, mentor, and founder of the Uncivilized Men's Movement, Traver Boehm, for a conversation about what it means to live in your truth, what it means to be uncivilized, and about his time, his recent time in the dark, first for 28 days and then for 49. So look, if you're someone who wants to live more fully in your purpose, wants to know what it means to live freely, then you're going to want to listen to this episode. It's a good one, and I know I appreciate it. I think you will too. Get ready. It's time to enter the Wild Lab. Welcome back to the Wild Lab, everybody. I have a very special guest on today. My friend, mentor, founder of the Uncivilized Movement, and author of 3 books, Traver Boehm. It's a deep honor and a privilege to have you on the podcast today, Traver. Traver, what's live with you today, my brother?
It's a loaded question, man. I am. What's alive is I'll start a little bit later. I just moved into a house, and the previous owners previous renters had a husky, which is amazing. I'm so glad they had a husky. However, they had an unhouse trained husky. So I've got a couple rooms in my new house that just smell like a gas station bathroom, and we're sorting out with the rental company how we navigate this.
Right on.
I've come out of a massive initiation, and which we can talk about in a minute. And I'll tell you, Ned, day one, I had a message saying, "Hey, I know you probably can't see that well and are dizzy as hell, but you've had bank fraud, so you may want to call Chase and sort some shit out." So I got on the phone with Chase, and the woman asked, "How's your day going?" And I had been out of the dark for about 4 hours and was like, "Honey, I don't even know what, like, it's not gonna, don't ask me that. Just let's fix whoever just stole $900 out of my account." And now, with all of the access to depth and consciousness and whatever we want to say it, I have, I'm dealing with piss covered rugs. So to be in this world and not of it is still very alive for me.
Yeah. You know, I think that's the thing with some of these initiations, man, is that like when we come out of them, it seems like when we break down, the whole world tends to break down around us, right? And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but then we feel like, God, do I want to put this back together, or do I just want to leave it like lying on the ground, you know?
Yeah.
And I know for myself, I've been in those places too, where I just questioned, should I just leave this here? Do I really need this where I'm going? You know? Well,
Yeah.
listen, brother, I want to talk to you about darkness. I want to talk to you about Uncivilized Movement, the movement you started. But for folks that don't know you, I know you pretty intimately well, or at least, relatively well. But for folks that don't know you, some of our listeners, can you just tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is that, a little bit about the Uncivilized Movement and what it is that you do?
Yeah. I am a 49-year-old man living in Boulder, Colorado. I like jujitsu. I like surfing. Uh, I started a movement about 8 years ago called Uncivilized because I kept reading articles that men weren't doing okay. Men were troubled. Men were challenged. Men were the problem. And I would get to the bottom of those articles, Ned, and there was never "and this is what we do about it" section. And I think I read 3 or 4 of them in the same day and was like, well, are we just complaining, or are we actually, maybe let me say this a different way. I got to the bottom of the article and I thought, we actually don't want to solve this. We just want to highlight a problem without creating a solution.
Yeah.
And this is in the middle of Me Too, and I was living in a two-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn, New York, and went, "You know what? I'm gonna try to solve this."
Mm,
So I threw some ideas out on social media about men and about a new iteration of masculinity, and that kinda blew up, and it radically changed my life, and it took me on a journey that I'm still on of, now running a movement with 50 live in-person teams all over the world, with a nonprofit attached to it, with workshops and all the things, but I'm a guy still trying to figure shit out, man, and I tend to find
mm,
that my path is something challenging happens in my life, I go through it, I sit with it, I contemplate it, I write it down, I share it with a few people, they say it's really helpful, so I share it with the world. And
mhm.
that's sort of my process.
Yeah. I like that you just said, and I appreciate it, and, I am as well. Oh, man, just trying to figure things out, and I like that you said that, right? What do you do? What are the things that you do to try to figure things out? What do you do
Well,
in your life?
if you had asked me 3 months ago, I'd say I journal, I write, I talk to people, I sit.
Mhm,
Um, Now I close my eyes and I connect to the depth of my soul, and I try to connect to what I call the soul of the world, to borrow from The Alchemist, and I just listen
mhm,
quietly. But I sit with a silence that I did not have access to up until very recently.
mm, yeah,
And
and is
honestly,
that
you and
silence
I talked a
yeah,
moment ago. You
yeah,
and I, what you just said of like, do I deal with this? Do I not? I don't want
mhm,
this to sound depressing, Ned, but I now look at a lot of the world and go, it's not my problem.
yeah,
I'm
no,
not even going to tussle with this anymore. You guys figure it out. I figured a
yeah,
bunch of
man.
shit out for myself. You guys figure this out.
Listen, Traver, to me, it doesn't sound negative, right? I mean, you know me, I have a diverse background, but like I'm currently a college professor and running this wilderness school. And in my role as a college professor, I see a lot of problems being talked about. I see a lot of people pointing things out that are wrong with the world. I see a lot of people saying this needs to be solved. This is a problem. This, all the things. But like you said, I don't see a lot of solutions. And I don't see a lot of people willing to even listen to some solutions because I think we get caught up in it's almost like a narcotic of talking about the problem, right?
Mm,
Of talking about it's almost an addiction in a way of just talking about the problem as opposed to actually addressing it.
mhm,
And I know that I can't solve all the problems in the world, right? But I know the things that I can address and the things that I have the power to deal with. And so I don't know, man. That's what I those that's where I focus my energy.
yeah,
You know what I
me too.
mean? And the rest of it, let it be because I can't change it, you
Mhm,
know? And there's no point in me wasting my energy or my breath or any of it on there, you know? Um I want to I want to ask you more about the stillness cuz
mm,
I mean it's a very important part of my life. A lot of times people that some of the men that I work with and some of my friends ask me questions like how is it that you're doing all these things and you do a lot of things as well, but how is it that you're a professor, you're a bear hunter, you're tracking animals, you're writing books, you're doing a million different things at once, doing a podcast, all these things. Like, how is it that you're doing it and like staying present? And the answer I often give is I prioritize stillness
mm,
and I prioritize the time, my time in nature and my time just away from everything. So I know you. What lessons has stillness taught you? What lessons has connecting to the soul of the world, as you called it? What has that taught you?
I think it's taught me just a way of being in the world that's, I was gonna say unnatural, but it's not. It is natural. What is
Mhm.
unnatural is to be disconnected from stillness. What's unnatural is to be disconnected from silence.
Yeah.
So truly, it taught me to be in this world, but not of it.
Mhm.
To to go ahead, ask your question.
I wonder if you unpack that a little bit more, be out in this world, but not of it. Just break that down a little bit.
There's a million things that we can get hooked into every moment of every day. Before we hit record, we talked about politics. We talked about
Right.
Epstein. We could talk about the collective unconscious. We could talk about the collective health. We could talk about the drama in the neighborhood. We could talk about
Mhm.
familial drama, and none of it's real. So it's, do you
Yeah.
want to plug into the lack of reality of the world or live in your own? And I'm not a fan of this sentence, but I don't have a better one yet, of your own truth,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? So I can live in Colorado and not really give a shit about Colorado politics, not give a shit about Colorado stuff. I can be an American and be like, I actually don't give a flying fuck who's president right now.
Mhm.
People have based their entire identity off of who's president and what we should
For
do
sure.
about him, right? And
Yeah.
people can tell me, like, well, you need to care. It's a privilege that you don't care.
Mhm.
It's a practice for me not to care. It's a practice, right? When I close my
Exactly.
eyes, I connect to
Yeah.
what's real. That's the biggie. So how do you be in this world and not of it? You spend a lot of time with your eyes closed. You spend a lot of time with your heart, with your soul, with your being.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean you don't have friends. It doesn't mean you don't go to fun events and can catch a movie. But man, I got a practice of stillness. I have a practice of silence. I
Mhm.
said this to the guys in the nation when I came out. I was like, I was meditating 4 to 5 hours a day in the dark. And that's in the
Mhm.
dark. So it's even more compounded. And I asked guys, ooh, look at my arm. I just got chills telling you that story.
Mhm.
I have one of the guys in the nation who's like, he's graduating from, I think it's the Berkeley School of Music or Juilliard, like some
Mhm.
high level music school. And I was like, hey man, if you played the guitar for 7 minutes twice a week, and you skipped a week because this happened, and then you skipped a couple weeks and you came back to it, how good would you be in comparison to
Right.
if you practice 4 to 5 hours a day for a certain period of time? And of course, we all know the answer to this. And a lot of people will be like, cool, man, you don't have kids, you don't have my job, you don't have my etc. And so I'm not advocating that the public meditates for 4 to 5 hours a day. But
Mhm.
man, if you and I did an audit of Instagram time, of fuck off time
Mhm.
on our phones, of
Mhm.
Netflix, of etc., and we had every man look at it. I mean, your phone gives you the audit at the end of every week, doesn't it? It's like, you
Yeah.
spent 8 hours a day on the phone last week. And you're like,
Right.
you're the best. Thank you for that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
The irony of my phone telling me I've been on my phone too long.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
so, what my orientation is, Ned, is to not
Mhm.
get hooked by anything that's not real and to only get hooked by the things I want to get hooked by. My
Yes.
relationships, my friendships, my work, my creativity, my people. Now, am
Yes.
I going to sit here and tell you there's no drama in my life? None. That's never.
Right.
I literally am debating whether I drive to a rental place and like choke out the fucking owners of the management company.
Right.
That is post meditation thought.
Mhm.
And this will be fine. This means this is irrelevant. It's the drama of the day, and there'll always be a little bit of drama. But here's what I want to get to as a man. I want to get to the end of my life, and I want to look back on it and go, man, I wrote a shit ton of books. I spent a lot of time in the ocean. I had quality
Mhm.
friendships that were built around depth and
Mhm.
connection and intimacy and relationality. I used my life. I'm, like, exhausted because I used my life so well.
Yeah.
I don't wanna
Yeah.
get to the end of my life and be like, "Man, I watched a lot of football. I argued on Facebook with a lot of people about politics. I got really up in arms
Right.
about
Right.
the medical system and big pharma, even though I'm not happy with either of those."
Right.
I will
Right.
tell men listening the truest act of revolution is just to live the life you want to live.
Mhm.
I'm anti big pharma, so I don't take medications. I make sure I'm healthy. I eat the foods that will keep me healthy. I have practices that will keep me healthy. And yes, I do have the privilege of I don't have cancer. I
Right.
don't have leukemia. I don't have lupus. I don't have something that requires me to step into that paradigm. And I will do everything possible to not get plugged into that paradigm. Yet I'm talking to you on the internet. I have internet, right? I go to the
Yeah.
supermarket because I don't hunt and gather all my food. So there's this in this world, but not of it, that I think if it's
Yeah.
conscious, you get to decide, do I want to get into that game? I mean,
Mhm.
give us both 12. If we came back in 24 hours, we could be fucking pissed about politics.
Oh, sure.
We could be pissed about
10
wars
minutes.
that are happening. 10 minutes, right? We could be
Yeah.
up in arms and a new thing that we're upset about. I could be like the homeless situation in Denver.
Mm.
I could be like, man, how I can't help. What are we doing about this?
Mhm.
And again, I don't want people to hear like, oh, you're just privileged, so you don't care because you're not homeless. I can
Yeah.
get plugged into that and I can miss out on the gift that I have to give to the world, which is changing men, changing consciousness, and writing books. That's how I engage in
Right.
activism. That's my form of revolution, right? I'm not sitting here on a trust fund being like, well, I
Yeah.
just don't give a shit about any of that stuff, man. It's super easy. I'm just manifesting my monthly check from, the estate. And you guys just don't get it yet. Buy my
Right.
course.
Right.
Um,
Right. Right.
but
Yeah.
choose wisely, brothers. Choose wisely.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I say this to people all the time and to myself as well, is right. I mean, like where we focus our energy, that's where where we focus our energy and what we put into the world, that's what's going to matter to us, and that's where we're going to see the results, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And I asked the question, I prodded that question to be in the world and not of it, largely because like for me, and I think we definitely see eye to eye on this. I think it's the definition of and I hate to be like get into linguistics a little bit, but I think it's the definition of what is the world when I ask that question, right? Because when I use the word, when I say, because I often say, and in my writing and in a lot of different places, like I am of the river, I am of the mountain, I am of a place, right? Because for me, to be of an actual place means that like I am rooted in it, I am grounded in it,
Mm,
like the river is flowing through my veins, the mountain is my backbone, right? It means that I'm fully connected to the land and immersed within it. But when you're talking about like to be in and of a world, it's a different world, right? You're talking about politics and society and culture and those places. So and I completely agree with you on that. I just I often use that phrase, I am of the land,
yeah,
for the same reason,
yeah.
for the
I
same
think it
reason.
it pertains to the we have the term, and Jung had the term, and other psychologists use the term, the collective consciousness. I
Yeah.
call it the collective unconsciousness. I don't wanna plug
Oh,
into the
for sure.
collective unconscious, right? I don't wanna go get in a fight in a parking lot because someone took my spot. I don't wanna engage in the drama of social media.
Mhm.
It's so prevalent, and there's a razor thin line between living the life that you want to live, that's soul led, that's heart led,
Mhm.
that's relational, and boom, it's a fraction of a moment of an inch of getting right back sucked into this giant swath that I will say to men, it's bigger than we are.
Way. Yeah.
It is David and Goliath, right?
Mhm.
It is designed to be so bigger, so much bigger than you that you can't help but become consumed by it. That's why it takes a
Absolutely.
practice.
Yeah.
and a
Yeah.
willingness to live as far outside of it as you can, while also recognizing you do have to live in it unless you self-source everything.
Right.
That's the
Right. And
world we live in,
that's the
man.
irony. Yeah, and it's the irony of the work that you do
Yeah,
and the irony of the work that I'm doing, right? Is that like we're like as you said, we're talking over the internet, and we haven't even met in person, right? But we've talked a bunch,
right.
and I'm on social media far more than I want to be, right? And I'm sure that you are as well, and on Instagram and all the things, because that's how we get the message out. That's how things get done. And like you
Mhm,
said, it's a razor thin edge between, okay, I'm going to do this, but then I'm, not going to respond to all of this other noise that is out there. Like, I think differentiating between what is necessary for the message to get across and what is actual noise, that's a razor thin line, you know?
mhm,
Yeah.
for sure.
Uh, and in your answer, and I'm going to switch gears here a little bit. What I heard a lot of you talk about is what you've talked about in a lot of other podcasts and your whole entire work. But what it means to be uncivilized is being uncivilized. What does that mean to you, man? What does it mean to be uncivilized, and what does it mean to live uncivilized?
I think if we take a look at the collective male,
Mm,
how do men live? Most men. We have to look at the swath, like the top of the bell curve, like the mass of the bell curve of how do most men live?
how do you see most men living?
Unconscious,
Yeah,
distracted, addicted, uninspired, disconnected, unrelational. That just that, we could stop there.
chasing.
Like this all came about, Ned,
Yeah.
because I was living in Brooklyn, as I said, which is the most civilized place on earth. I was paying like $2,000 for a bedroom, and I had thrown a
Hmm.
men's gathering. I'll make this story as quick as I can. I like said, "Hey, I'm in this massive building. Let me get men together." This was new. It was just an idea. It didn't
Hmm.
even. It wasn't even what I was doing for a living. It's like I want to get men together, and I had one dude show up to this event, and he was. I don't know if you've heard this story. For like 45 minutes, I just unloaded. I was like, all right, cool. I got one. This is the masculine. This is what the masculine does. This is what masculine energies. You're the fucking mountain from now on. The feminine is this, blah, 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 blah. And at like the 45-minute mark, I took a breath, and the guy goes, whoa, 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 slow down, brother. I followed you since your fitness days. I'm here literally to meet you and to have you help me lose 25 pounds. And I was like, what are you talking about? Okay, let me switch hats, right? And I talked to him about fitness and
Hmm.
nutrition and yada, yada, yada. And again, long story short, he was a cop, and he told me the reason he
Hmm.
couldn't lose weight was because he couldn't not go to McDonald's. And I was like,
Hmm.
what is it on your beat? Like, do you have to stop in there as a law enforcement officer? He's like, no, man, the coffee there is just so good. Like, and I was like, oh my God, the life you want is what's between you and the life you want is a French press. Like,
Hmm.
that's it. That's what's keeping you from this life. And I went upstairs after, and I was living with a guy named Adam Cobb, who's a tremendous fitness trainer to NBA players. And I told him the whole story. And I was like, man, I wasted my fucking time. This guy just won't eat, and I can't just not go to McDonald's, blah, blah, blah. And then Adam and I spent the evening having a very connected conversation. Just two dudes sitting in an apartment. Talked about our fathers, talked about some stuff that had happened with him with women in high school, talked about death. Like we got into some shit. And the next morning we woke up to work out at about 5 a.m. And on the way out the door, Adam asked me, when was the last time you've eaten McDonald's?
Hmm.
And I said, I don't eat that shit, man. That's civilian food.
Hmm.
And he's like, what are you talking about? What do you mean civilian food? And I said, hey, man, take a look at the last 12 hours of our life. We're two single guys in an apartment. There's no television in here. There's no alcohol in here. There's no drugs in here. We're not fucking a bunch of women in here. He was a very religious guy. I'd get up and read the Bible. We spent the evening having a very connected conversation, like really sharing stuff that has depth to it, stuff that's important to us. If people
Mm.
aren't scared of the word, they would call that an intimate conversation. The next morning, we're up at 5 getting ready to just get fucking savage in a weight room. Like, we're not going down there to do bicep curls. We're going down there to try to kill each other. And I said,
Mhm.
that to me is a different, we're plugged into a different machine than if we were plugged into as, quote, civilized men. If I got plugged into the civilized machine, it will spit me out overweight, uninspired, addicted, having no good relationships, depressed, disconnected from my heart, disconnected from nature, disconnected from source or whatever you want to call it, probably divorced a couple times, looking at porn, right?
Right. Right.
Terrible, terrible situation. And I said, that is the end goal of civilization. You have been civilized into the standard dude. Now, I
Yeah.
get it because I too had been down that wormhole or down that rabbit hole with the exception of fitness. Right. When I got divorced, I drank every day. I smoked pot every day. I looked at porn every day.
Mm.
Right. I lied to people. I was angry. I was shut down. I had no connection to my heart. I had no connection to my soul, no connection to nature other than the ocean.
Yeah.
So when I tell people, especially men, like go walk through an airport, go walk through Vegas. That is the pinnacle of civilization. It's weak.
Mhm.
Say it, it's fucking weak. Men are weak in the civilized world. They're addicted. They're consumed. They're distracted. They are not powerful. They are not potent. They are not conscious. They are not awake. They don't know why they do the things they do. They don't know what they want to do.
Mhm.
They don't have a drive. They're trying to make their lives as easy and comfortable and disconnected as possible. And I say that as a
Yeah.
huge fan of men. I love men. I work with men.
Clearly.
I want to shake most men by the shoulders and say, brother, you got to
Mm.
wake the fuck up. There's so much more to this life than your fantasy football team and the job that you hate and the woman
Yeah.
who you won't speak to and you're not having sex with, but you're afraid to fucking leave because you're going to
Yeah.
have to pay alimony or whatever it is. Now I feel like I'm on a ramble, but that, right? Like go walk outside, man. Go have a conversation for 5 minutes with people. Ask people 3 deep questions. Who are you as a man? What are you here to do? What do you love about this life?
Yes. Absolutely, brother.
Have you been initiated?
Yes. Absolutely. What is I mean, when I think of it, have you read Michel Foucault? Have you ever read like Discipline and Punishment or any of that? I mean, it's all grad school, like cultural studies type stuff I read in my PhD program. But
I haven't.
he has a theory called docile bodies, which is, and I'll explain it really
Mm,
simply, but is that in education and a lot of institutions in society, the way they function is not to function to free us, not to function to create critical thinkers, but they function to create docile bodies, cogs and machines that move through systems and structures and as functional pieces of the systems and structures, but not independent thinkers, not independent livers, freely moving and doing what they wish, right? And
exactly.
so often when I think of like uh, the way you use uncivilized and the way I often use the word wild, right?
Mhm.
The opposite of that is a docile body, is a man or a woman or a human
Mm,
being who lives not according to their own free will, not according to what it is that they want, what their hearts want, their soul desires, but what they've been taught, right? And unconsciously, not even questioning that, and just unconsciously accepting that as truth, as paradigm, as the only way to live, right?
yeah.
Um, what is it? So, like Foucault talks about, like it's institutions that do this, and that maybe that there's some truth to that. But I'm curious to hear your answer about what is it that civilizes us, that tames us. And I'm not even sure that civilization is, or civilized is the opposite of uncivilized. Maybe it's domesticity, maybe it's tameness,
Mhm.
but what is it that civilizes us? What keeps us from living uncivilized?
Fear,
Fear.
shame, lack of examples, terror of initiation,
Mm,
and systems, right? Government system,
mhm.
school system, church system, medical system. It takes a lot to leave the benefit of a system. It is
Yeah.
terrifying to say to the world, "I'm gonna go my own way," right? I am
Yeah.
surrounded by domesticity. I'm surrounded by think of and I don't want to shit on marriage as an idea, but let's take marriage as an idea.
Mhm.
More than half of them don't work. They fail, they end, they can come to a screeching halt. You get divorced.
Mhm.
Second time round, it's 70 to 80% of them don't work. Talk to people who are married. What percentage of them are not happy? They're miserable, like actually miserable in this technology.
Mhm.
And yet, how many people fight, scratch, kick, scream to become married and think, if I'm not married, there must be something wrong with me. There
Mhm.
must be something wrong with me
Mhm.
if I don't engage in this idea. And
Yeah.
again, like I love relationship. I love the idea of all of it. But it seems
Yes.
kind of weird that we have this thing that we can blatantly see over and over and over and over and over and over is kind of in its current iteration a failed technology. And
Yeah.
yet the push comes from multi angles.
Yeah.
Before you jump in, I can also use the
No, no.
example of alcohol,
Yeah.
right? Does is alcohol a benefit to our society? Are we really like domestic violence, car accidents, murder, rape, you name it, liver cancer, health issues, inflammation? Yet, how many times when I voluntarily quit drinking 10 years ago, did I need to explain to
Mhm.
people why I'd made a choice to not poison myself? And how many people said, "Wow, there must be something's up with you, huh?" As
Mm,
opposed
mhm.
to the opposite of me saying,
Mhm.
"So let me get this straight. You're gonna sit in a crowded facility this weekend and pay $16 for a glass of something that's gonna make you sick the next day, and
Mhm.
you're also plugging into something that is horrible on many, 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 many levels for people and across a number of domains. And I have to explain to you why I'm not engaging in that."
Right.
That
Right.
to me is the undercurrent power of the systems at work, society,
Mhm.
the collective unconscious, right?
Yeah. 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 And that's no, I appreciate the invisible undercurrents of the systems at work. Because I mean, I think that's that's actually what's happening. It's easy for us, when we think of, because like you said, you started this our conversation today with people get pissed, right? People are pissed. And it's easy for people to point out like, hey, well, this guy has a problem, or this person or this thing is the problem. But the reality is, it's actually much darker, is that
Mm.
there is no head of the snake, so to speak, right? There is no king that if you cut its head off, this system is ended and then we can all live freely and, fully or whatever. It's an amorphous, headless entity that we are all fully participating in, unconsciously, consciously and unconsciously participating in every single day, and perpetuating that, our own enslavement, for lack of a better word, right? Our own civil, our own domesticity, right? And that to me is the when I think of when I say that to people, it, that to me is the true danger, and is actually scarier than saying, well, pointing a finger at big pharma or pointing a finger at a president or pointing a finger at, whatever it is and saying, this is the problem. And if we just get rid of this, then everything will be okay. And it's like, well, no, it's much more complicated than that. And we actually participate these systems knowingly and unknowingly every single day when we drink or when we watch porn or when we, um, turn up, pick up our phone and participate in social media. Like all of these things we are doing, we are participating consciously and in our own enslavement, our own caging, our own domesticity. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um. Yeah. And
I'll
that's
share
and
before
it's a
you ask the
big. It's
question,
Go ahead. Yeah.
if I can just say, I had a mentor years ago say this to me, and it was so profound about systems, Ned. He said,
Hmm.
anyone who leaves a system, the system then has to view as a threat.
Yeah.
And I went, oh man, that's intense. No wonder why people leave the church and they're like ostracized. They can never speak to those people again.
Hmm.
They're like they're kicked out. Like I quit drinking and suddenly people are like, you're not fun anymore. We're not going to invite you to parties. We don't even want to be around you. And like, man, that's really intense. I just made a different choice.
Yeah.
And so I think that's like, I want to speak to the honesty of the process of leaving certain systems is there's a brutality to it. There is a cost to it. And that needs to be spoken rather than us sort of just preaching from the pulpit of like, just go live the life you want to live. And trust me, it's fine if your parents don't
Hmm.
speak to you and your brothers and sisters don't speak to you and people think you're crazy and you get labeled as this and that.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
will say to everybody listening that on the other side of that transitional pain, freedom's fucking delicious.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Freedom is delicious, man.
Absolutely. There is a cost. You're right. And it's not light either. You lose friends, relationships, jobs sometimes,
Mhm,
and all of those things, that some of the things that we really, really cared about. And I've lost all of those things
mhm. Me
in
too.
choosing to live the life that I'm living and that I want to live. Yeah. And it's not easy, right? But you're right. It's part of the process. Yeah. Yeah. Can we transition quickly? Yeah. I want to ask you a little bit about the dark. And I want to ask you, because you've done a few dark retreats now, right?
Too.
So
Yeah.
you've done two. So you did, I know you just did 44 days, but before that, how many days did you do?
My first one was 28 days. My last one was 49 days.
28 days and 49 days. Okay. So I know some of the things you don't necessarily want to talk about. And I'd like to understand a little bit about like what drove you to go into the dark. Like why go to a dark retreat? Because for a lot of people, that sounds a little insane. I'm going to spend 28 days, 49
Mhm.
days in total darkness. Why would you do something like that?
Yeah. We all have our particular medicine, the thing that
Mm,
just works for us. And that's why I went back. I went in the first time because I met a man who was dying actively. He had 6 months left to live. Oddly enough, 10 years later, he's still alive, but that's a different conversation.
mhm,
And I told him I was doing a year exploration called the Year to Live Project, where I wanted to live the year fully as if it were my last year alive. I was in between a divorce and a miscarriage and jobs, and I had some money. So I was like, you know what? I want to do a personal spiritual experience. I'm going to do this. And I met him early on in this experience, and I told him, I'm going to volunteer in hospice after this for a couple months. I'm going to sit with the dying. And over lunch, he's eating a sandwich, just kinda, like, chomping. This is at a Robert Masters workshop. You know Robert Masters?
Mm, mhm.
The
Yeah, yeah.
teacher. Yeah, I think he's retired because he's gotten quite, senior. But this dude's, like, chomping on a sandwich, man, and he goes, "Do you wanna understand death without dying? You gotta go do a dark retreat."
Right.
And I was like, "What the actual F is a dark retreat?" And he explained the concept to me, but he said this is what grabbed me, man. He goes, "I've done 180 days in darkness,
Mm,
and it was this many days and this many days and this many days." He'd done 49. 49 is like the full prescription.
mm,
He goes, "Well, the first time I think they pulled me out on day 42, 43, because I was bleeding from my eyes and my nose and maybe my ears." And I was like,
mhm.
What happened to you to make you bleed from these orifices?" This just seems like a logical question to ask next.
Yeah, yeah, for
And
sure.
again, he's so nonchalant. He's literally like chomping on like Lay's potato chips. And he's like, "Well, the Tibetans told me that I got so deep in my meditations," and he just made this fucked up face. And he goes, "that I encountered a demon." And
Mm.
I was like, "Okay, I'm from Connecticut. Did you encounter a demon?" We didn't have those,
No
where I
demons in
come from.
Connecticut, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, we had sobs and
Yeah.
braided belts. Uh, and he goes, "No, I think I just had food poisoning, but you should definitely give this a try."
Mm. Hmm.
And what I was hooked by was th there's initiations that test what you already have access to, right? The first time I ran a
Mm.
marathon, it was an initiation. The first time I fought in a cage, it was an initiation. But those were, like, in my wheelhouse. I did a
Mhm.
20-mile swim in high school once. That was an initiation. Like, smaller initiations. Now there's initiations that you literally have no talent and no skill for.
Mhm.
Those are the ones I think are the most interesting. And so I immediately knew I'm a public speaker. I'm a good writer. I'm a purple belt in jujitsu at the time. I'm an ex pro fighter. None of that is going to help me when a door is closed behind me and I can't see for the next month
Right.
and there's no one around. It's just me and my thoughts.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see what was available to me if all of my skills and talents get put to the side and I'm forced or I choose to engage in a process that is so much bigger than me. And I don't think I have the capacity or the skill to handle. Who would I be on
Mhm.
the other side? How would I
Mhm.
show up for myself in the process? What would come up for me during that month? I wanted to play in that game.
Yeah.
But mostly, and I'll say
Yeah.
this to you because I think you'll get this, the dark grabbed me.
Yeah. Of
I had a choice, but it
course.
was one of those like, I can't not do this now that I know what it is. Now, here's what I'll tell your audience. I didn't know that the like standard early first time prescription was 4 to 5 days,
Mm.
maybe 5
And you went
days
in
on the
20,
long
28
end,
days.
and I went in for 28.
Yeah.
I did that for just a completely random logistical reason. I was at the time when I was putting together the Year to Live project, I wanted to do 12 things for a month. That's how I was gonna split the year.
Okay.
And so when I reached out to the owner of the facility and said, "Hey, I wanna do 28 days," she said, we don't let people." Actually, she didn't say that. She just said, "That's a really, really, really long time.
Mhm.
You want to sit with this and think about that." And I went, "I'm doing it." And I had a meditation background, so I'd been through some stillness before,
Mhm.
but I was woefully unprepared for that first experience.
Yeah.
And so we can put a pin there if you have questions about that first one before we get to the second, because I will also say this to you, Ned, it may cue something. I was woefully unprepared for how long 49 days was.
I would imagine. I would imagine. And I know there's some of the things you don't want to talk about with the most recent one. So I'll ask this with the 28 day, what parts of you, you said you have to understand death, right? What parts of you had to die in those 28 days? Parts of you did you leave in the dark?
I left so much grief.
Yeah.
I left so much anger. I left my current belief about death at the time.
Mhm,
I had a day-long period where I thought I had actually died. It
mhm,
was it was towards the end. I was so confused. I was so sleep deprived. It was so miserable. I'd lost a bunch of weight. Uh, I thought I died.
yeah.
And people listening to this are like, that's dumb. That's crazy. All right, go spend 25 days alone in a pitch black room and
No, I
let me know
believe
if you think you're alive. So,
yeah.
and I had to leave, Ned, the part of me that was still really attached to what people thought of me. I had to
Mm,
leave the part of me that was scared about speaking, teaching, writing in a way that would upset me or sorry, upset people.
mhm,
I came out of that
mm,
room and started Uncivilized with a crosshair in the middle of my forehead of a society that said, "Wait, you're gonna work with men?" This is 2017, we're right in the middle of Me Too.
mhm.
You're gonna tell men that they need to take up more space, that they need to be more powerful?
Right,
You
right.
can go fuck yourself. Like, you can actively go I'm literally got called every
Yeah,
name in the book,
yeah,
everything you can think of back then. But in the dark, I figured out that time, I don't give a shit.
right.
You know why? Because in 30 to 40 years, or hopefully, I'm not gonna be here anymore. So nothing if people hate me or love me, I'm still gonna be just as dead. So that was a
Yeah.
profound shift in experience, a profound shift in consciousness to
Mhm.
live through my own death and then come out and go, all right, I got a big idea, but people are going to hate me for it.
Right,
The
right.
part of me that was tied to people's opinion of me died in that room.
That's
The
beautiful.
collective opinion, right? The
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
collective.
yeah, yeah. I
Like
got
people
you.
I care about, I still care about what they think, but the
Right,
collective opinion, I don't give a shit now.
right, right. Yeah. Yeah, and man, there's so many things I've talked about death on this podcast and the importance of of it so many different times. Um, why why is it important? Why is that initiatory rite of passage going through death important for people? I mean, we can talk about men, but why is it important to experience for people?
It is the thing we fear most covertly.
Mm.
It is the thing that influences us most overtly, I would say.
What do you mean by that?
And it is the thing that we forget is going to happen, so we hold ourselves back. So let me explain, or let
Yeah,
me try to
please.
piece this apart for you. With some of my clients, I would say to them, "You know why you're afraid to do this thing that you wanna do? Because you don't yet realize that you're gonna die."
Yeah,
And once you realize that, like, once it's and this is the problem, Ned, it's such a big concept, even in its simplicity, that we really can't grasp it intellectually. Everybody fucking knows they're gonna die. I mean,
right.
maybe AI is gonna change that in the next 5 years, but, like, anybody who's over
Well,
over 40, the world we grew up in, we're all gonna die.
yeah,
But yet, we're afraid to put a Instagram post out. We're afraid to write a book. We're afraid to ask the woman out. We're afraid to be bold in the world because what? People may not like us.
yeah,
Whether people like us or don't like us, we're still gonna die.
yeah.
Or so that's the forgettance of death. We forget that we're gonna die.
Mhm.
Or we're afraid that this thing I'm gonna do, I'm literally afraid to put this Instagram post out Why? Because people will reject me for it. People may be mean to me. And there's a part of my little lizard childhood brain that says if people don't like me, I will have no access to food, shelter, and love, and therefore I will die. Now you got to go down a bit
Yeah.
of a wormhole to get there. But you start asking clients or start asking people, well, what's underneath that? What's underneath that? What's underneath
Right.
that?
Right.
Right? Why are you afraid of loneliness? Why are you afraid of rejection? Why are you afraid of people not liking you? At the root, I believe, brother, I believe that at the root of it is a fear of death, fear of ostracization, if that's the
Right.
word. Which
Yeah.
and why are we afraid of being ostracized?
Because we die if we're outside of the tribe. Yeah.
100%.
Get eaten by a lion or a bear or whatever. Yeah.
100%. So we can read books about death, we can talk about death, but until it's in your bones, like, fuck, this is what death is. Or at least that's what it was for me.
Yeah.
It became, and I imagine it's the same for people who've had near death experiences, for people who've been in active war, for people who have come back from cancer treatments. I mean, I've interviewed them. I've talked to people who say like, I got a new lease on life. I'm
Right.
going for it, man. I'm
Right.
going for whatever the thing is. Like I got a new chance. That's how I felt coming out of 28 days.
Right.
I was like, go ahead. I wrote my books in such apologetic way, unapologetic ways. Built a brand in such an unapologetic way because I was literally like, I don't fucking care if I mean, I've already died in a room by myself,
Right.
you know,
Right. Yeah.
in quotes. I don't want to,
Yeah.
it
Yeah. Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
that intense, but
I got you. I got
yeah.
you. We're with you. Yeah. And yet these, and historically, traditionally, these sorts of initiations, maybe not 28 days in darkness, right? Or 49 days in darkness, but initiatory rites of passage that confronted us with our own death were a part of society. We're a part of our evolution as men, as women, as humans living in the world. And now distinctly they're decidedly not, I mean, minus the intentional spaces that people are creating, but as a whole,
Hmm.
right? As you were saying, the collective whole, decidedly they are not, right? And
Yeah.
I think you can speak to this, but I would say that one of the consequences of that, one of the consequences of having a society absent of initiatory rites of passage and confrontations of our own death is living unconsciously, is
Hmm.
living um, in a caged world,
Hmm.
right? Um, and so you spent 28 days in darkness. You experienced your own death. You started this movement, which has been powerful and for a lot of men and worldwide. And yet you chose to go back in, right? Why did you choose to go back in for a longer time? Almost, or not double, but a longer time.
I have no other way to say it but to tell you I got called back in.
Yeah.
And not just look at my arm. Whew, I got chills.
Yeah.
I got called back in. I don't know what else to say, man. I woke up one day, right? People asked me after the last one, "Would you ever go back?" And I was like, "I don't fucking think so." That was
Mm,
horrendous.
mm,
That was awful. That was the hardest thing I've ever lived through. And yet 10 years later, I had this discomfort, and I sat with that discomfort and went, "Okay, what's going on with me? Not with what's going on in my external life. What's going on inside of me?" Ooh,
yeah.
man, look at that. Everybody watching the video, my arm is lit up with
Chills.
chills.
Yeah.
And there were parts of myself I couldn't access. There was
Mm,
information that I couldn't plug into. Ned, there was a
mhm,
depth. I had to get dropped back down so deep to access the wisdom, knowledge, experience that I needed to go through and get a hold of to live the next 20, 30 years of my life in
mhm.
the way that I want to, in the way that I'm being called to, I would say, not in the way that I want to, the
Understood.
way I'm being called to.
Right.
And I'll tell you, brother, it took me my deepest peace, hardest thing that I went through and lived through. And the most valuable part of that experience didn't come until the 6-week mark, day
Huh.
42. So
Mhm.
there was something in there that I had to sit through and sit through and sit through and be with myself week after week, hour after hour, day after day for 42 days before the fucking hammer came down on me in ways I
Yeah.
didn't know was possible. Having already lived through what I described 28 as a 28-day car accident. It was fucking hell showed up on day 42.
Mhm.
And yet I can tell you being on the other side of it, that was the most valuable experience of my life.
Mm. Wow.
And I have oriented my entire life in a way and from a place that I didn't know was possible 2 months ago. And I'm already an introspective person. I'm already a contemplative person. I'm already a guy who's done multiple multi-day meditation workshops and retreats and done ayahuasca and psilocybin and MDMA journeys and gone on the carpet and done shadow work and gone to therapy and done all the shit. There's something about the medicine of darkness for me personally
Mm.
that
Mhm.
speaks right through me into my soul.
Mm.
But I got to sit in it for a long fucking time to get there.
Yeah. 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 So what I mean, what would be if you're open to sharing, like what, you said it changed you and it's moving you in new ways. Are you open to sharing and what in some of those ways what those might be?
I came out of that room having seen and experienced the direction I'm going to go in the next for the next 15 years of my life.
Yeah.
And immediately went, "Oh shit, that's going to change a bunch of stuff."
Mhm.
I'm living right now, I'm day 2 in a 5-bedroom house, 3 level in Colorado, which is about 4 bedrooms too many and maybe 3,000 square feet that I don't need,
Right.
but I saw a vision of what I'm gonna do in this house.
Mm.
And so I came out and I rented it despite the illogical nature of it.
Mhm.
I came out of the dark and within 24 hours ended a relationship with someone I care about deeply and love
Mm.
immensely. I came out and got my team together and said, "Hey guys, Uncivilized is gonna stand. We're gonna shift some languaging, and I got something that's coming through."
Mm.
Now,
I can't wait for that. Yeah.
everything that I'm telling you, Ned, everything that I'm telling
Mhm.
you, a civilian would say, "Those are the dumbest ideas ever. Don't do that.
Mhm.
It makes no sense. It's illogical. The girl's beautiful, likes to have sex. You love her. She loves you. She surfs. Stay with her.
Mhm.
Go rent a 1-bedroom apartment and save $3,000 a month. This is dumb. Double down on the business you've spent 8 years building and the brand you spent 8 years building and blow it up. Don't do anything new. Don't write another book. That's exhausting. Don't live from this place that your brain and head are going to go, please don't do this. Please don't do this. Please don't do this." And you're going to go, "Voof, we're doing this
Mhm.
because this is the place I operate from now." And I got about 3 weeks of practice doing this so far. It is uncomfortable. It is unnerving. It is challenging. It is literally just the most confronting way I've ever lived. And yet I feel it in my bones that this is what I'm supposed to do. And so I'm just going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And it is a,
Yeah.
it is a, there's a depth, brother. I've used the word soul a couple times, but like
Right.
I hung out with myself at a depth
Mhm.
clear channel down the middle of
Yeah.
my stomach, right? Clear
Yeah.
channel. And I don't care how my external life orients itself anymore. My number one MO is to keep that clear channel open.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
If I become poor, if I become sick, if I'm never within a relationship again, I will take great. If long as I have access to myself at that depth, I will walk this earth a satisfied man.
Mhm. I mean, how does that feel? I can see it. I can hear it in your answer. Like, how does that feel? How does it feel to be yeah, how does that feel?
It feels like I'm in this world, but not of it. But
Mm,
that's not a cerebral sentence anymore. That's not a
yeah,
philosophical sentence. I'm actually living it in a way I didn't think was possible. And I'll be honest with you, brother, it's terrifying.
yeah.
In one hand, it's terrifying. In the other hand, it's like, oh God, this is the feeling I've wanted my entire life.
Mm,
Access to what I can call my own truth.
hmm.
Now, terrifying because it is reorganizing my external life. And
Yeah,
that's a pain in the ass.
yeah.
That's painful. That hurts, right?
Mhm,
And yet I've never felt more on purpose, never felt more on point. And I've built shit from the heart. I've built shit from the gut.
mhm,
But this is a whole I don't know, man. I'm a jujitsu guy, right? And
mhm.
I can't tell you how many jujitsu guys say, I didn't even start to learn jujitsu until I became a black belt. And I was like, that's
Right.
impossible. I'm a blue
Yeah, yeah.
belt and you fucking obliterate me with one arm literally tied behind your back. And you're telling me you're just now starting to understand jujitsu?
Mhm.
I would tell you that I'm just now starting to understand life.
Mm. I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I think yeah. Well, that's beautiful, and I'm happy for you. I really
Thank you,
I'm
brother.
really, really happy for you because I
Thank you.
know it's gotta be a great feeling and a terrifying feeling. And how I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm putting words in your mouth, I understand, but I mean, it's gotta be terrifying and comforting at the same time to know that you are living in your truth, as you said, and
Yeah.
and living in the direction that you were called to live in, right? Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
that. I
Yeah,
really
my pleasure.
appreciate it. Yeah. What I'm curious, what advice would you give people that want to perhaps um, go to a dark retreat or experience the dark? Do you think it's for everybody? Because you've said multiple times, this is my medicine, and this is the medicine that's right for me. Um, what
Mm.
advice would you give to somebody who's interested in doing that? What you did?
Take it seriously, first of all.
Hmm.
It is a powerful medicine. Like, we know people who've gotten completely jacked up from ayahuasca or from other
For
plant
sure.
medicine, right? Or, people that kinda just skated through it.
Hmm.
If you're gonna do it, take it seriously. This is powerful, powerful medicine. Number 2, have a practice.
Mm,
I relied on every possible skill I have as a man, as a coach, as a teacher, as a meditator, as a martial artist. There was days where I was just pulling shit out of any bag I had to get me through the next 2 minutes. So have a practice. Like, if you're not comfortable sitting in meditation for multiple hours, maybe not at a time, but in a day, the the violence of monotony will crush you. You understand that?
mhm.
that room will never ever be less dark than it is the first moment you're in it.
Hmm.
It will never be less quiet, less still. There's 24 hours in the day on day 1, there's 24 hours in the day on day 49. You gotta be with yourself throughout that entire process. So have a practice. Number 3, man, you gotta roll with the punches.
Mm.
I didn't know times, Ned, when I'd wake up and be like, "I don't know if it's 10 o'clock at night or it's 4 o'clock in the morning." And my humanness would wanna orient around like, "Well, which one is it? Is food coming in 6 hours or is food coming in 12 hours? What do I do
Mhm.
now? I'm a human. I wanna like, I have some level of a clock or something." Okay, it doesn't matter. Have and maybe the worst thing in the world just came up for me. I just had a dream of my ex-wife, like, murdering some like, doesn't matter what the thing is. You gotta be able to breathe through it and through it and go, "Cool. This is what's present for me right now." You got to be able to hold yourself. There is no one there with you.
Right.
There is
Yeah.
there is a awfulness to that. There were
Mhm.
times in that last round, in both rounds, where I just sobbed and sobbed and sobbed, wishing someone would come in and just put their hand on my shoulder.
Mhm.
Just tell me everything's gonna be okay. Just touch me. Just sit next to me so I'm not alone again in the midst of hell, right?
Wow. Yeah.
You gotta be able to sit with yourself. And what a beautiful opportunity to learn to sit with yourself.
Yeah.
That's why they call it initiation,
Mm.
because it's bigger than you are.
Mhm.
It's gonna whip your ass,
Yes.
right? If you walk out of an initiation and be like, "Meh,"
It wasn't an initiation. Yep.
it's not an initiation.
Yeah.
So are you willing to go to that depth? Are you willing to surrender to whatever the process is? Hold yourself through it,
Mhm.
knowing that inherently at some point, probably, if you're in there long enough, you will wonder if you're gonna get out okay.
Yeah. And that's part of it,
That's
I'm hearing.
initiation to me.
Yeah.
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 Am I
It's
gonna
part
make it
of it.
out of here? Right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're kinda white knuckling it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's my advice for people. And I'll tell you, man, I didn't know this until this last one. 95% of people who do it are men.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
She would say, like, the darkness is the exponential feminine. You're held
Mm.
in the womb in here.
Mm. I can get that.
And so it really is potent medicine for men. Oh, look at my arm. Woof. Right?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, thank you
Yeah.
for that, Traver.
Yeah, my
I
pleasure,
really
brother.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take it seriously, practice, roll with the punches, sit with yourself and surrender to the practice or surrender to the process. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to be conscious of your time. But
Sure.
I have a couple questions that I do want to ask. One specifically, if you're willing to answer it, but I'm curious about that first moment when the door opened and there was light.
Mm.
I wonder if you can speak to that. Like what did that feel like? What was that for you?
Mm. It's overwhelming, and it's so familiar that for, like, a fraction of a second, it's blinding and overwhelming, and then it almost is like leaving a portal and going right back into normalcy.
Mm,
Like, "Oh, there's leaves. Leaves exist. I remember leaves. Oh, shit, there's a building." It's again, if we almost use plant
right.
medicine, analogy for people who've done a lot of mushrooms, like, in on the mushroom on psilocybin, Your living room looks like it's crazy, it's massive, it's 10 miles walk to the
Right.
bathroom, and then you come out of it and you're like, "Oh, yeah, it's 8 feet to the bathroom. My couch is the one my brother gave me that he's had from
Right.
college. It's my couch." And so this weird juxtaposition of, "Whoa." The whole world just came back into my consciousness, into my eyes, into my being. That is massive.
Yeah.
And, oh, yeah, leaves. Cool, you know?
And fraud, right?
Yeah, and bank fraud. Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And
That's a
management companies, yeah.
yeah, yeah, and dog piss, all of those things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
dog piss. But I will say just logistically, it's very
uh,
disorienting, and
I would
both
imagine.
times it took me 2 days before I wasn't, like, car sick, like, motion sick,
Oh, wow. Like,
nauseous,
in a moving car or just, like, sitting still, you mean?
sitting still.
Sitting still, wow,
Yeah, like, moving
interesting.
my head 6 inches to the right, to the left to be like, "Ooh, okay, okay. Let's close our eyes.
Wow,
Let's try to get grounded again."
wow,
Yeah.
interesting, interesting, huh. Well, brother, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate this conversation. I really appreciate, you taking the time to sit down and share part of your story with me. I'm sure I know there's a lot more to come out, and I'm
Yeah.
really looking forward um, to what you're putting out with Uncivilized and what you're gonna put out into the world. Um, yeah, I'm really looking forward
Thank
to
you.
that when that day comes, and maybe we can have you back on when that day comes when you're ready to share some of the
I'm
some of
happy
these
to be
beautiful
here.
gifts that you're ready to share with the world, my man.
Yeah.
Um, I have two last thoughts.
Sure.
One is if there's anything that you want to say to this audience to
Mm.
there's a lot of men that listen to this audience, but there's also a lot of women that listen to this audience. I'm learning as well. So if there's anything that you want to say to them, any advice for them that you have on living uncivilized, on
Mm.
on living the world or the life that they want to live,
Mhm.
what would you give them?
Something that I feel about the current collective, Ned, is we have an obsession with what I'll call up and out. When we talk about consciousness, when we talk about
Yeah.
spirituality, it's up out of our bodies, into the heavens, into the spirit, into the sky, into, like, we look up to talk to whatever we believe in. And
Right. Yeah.
plant medicine takes us up out of our bodies, right? Meditation, even, like, transcend, go up, up. I want people interested in going down and in.
Mm,
Down and into, to me, is where the real answers lie. And I'm not shitting on religion. I'm not shitting on anyone's belief system. I think you need to spend as much, if not more time down and in connecting with your soul and your truth and your guts
mhm,
as you do up and out. And so
mhm.
if you have a practice that takes you down to depth, again, I'm gonna that depth is my drug right now.
I
I
see
don't wanna
that.
have light
Yeah.
conversations. I don't wanna have a light existence. I want depth as my drug. And I want people to get hooked on the same shit I am because I know
Mhm,
how it will change your life. I know how it will reorient you in the world. And the
mm.
second thing, if I can add something,
Yeah.
is nothing worth earning is easy. And I think we're
Absolutely.
still in this, like, ayahuasca is what, 4 years of therapy in 4 hours is what we tell people, or
Mhm.
they tell people. Bullshit. I didn't get what I came for until day 42,
Right.
and it came with a fucking hammer.
Yeah.
And so are there things that we get from joy, from pleasure, from laughter, from lightness? Absolutely. But the path to truth, the path to consciousness, the path to the soul of the world, you're gonna walk that one bare feet with bloody feet, man. You're crawling
Mm,
over glass to get
beautiful.
to there. And if you're not willing to go through the pain and suffering of a practice, of discipline, of hurting, of aching, check yourself out of the game. And I'm not saying to check yourself out of life, but don't play at consciousness. Don't play at spirituality if you're not willing to, to hurt for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, brother. You got to bleed.
Yeah.
You got to bleed a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. Well, on that very light note, um, how do folks find you, Traver? Like, what if they want to work with you? If they want to, find you on social media, work with Uncivilized. Where can they find you? And you got a new book coming out, so take some time to
Yeah.
plug that as well. So,
Yeah, I've showed it to
yeah,
you. 28 Days in Darkness is about my first about my first dark retreat. You can find that manuncivilized.com/28 days. The number's 28 days, and I got some video up there of the first room, some other bonuses there. Or find me on Instagram at Traver Boehm, TraverBoehm. But if you look up Uncivilized, you'll find me. I'm not hard to find. And I'd love to hear from your audience what your takeaway is. Challenge me, argue with me, agree with me. I just love hearing that people have listened to something and now have a reaction to it.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, clearly you're a man who's willing to take on criticism, obviously.
Yeah.
So yes,
Thank you.
Traver, it's been an honor, brother. I really appreciate the conversation. Yeah, and hopefully we can chat soon, and maybe sometime in Boulder, man. Maybe next time I'm up that way, maybe we
Please.
can we can sit in the flesh and have a real conversation.
Yeah, come find me. I'm here.
Right on, brother. All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to The Wild Lab. If today's conversation stirred something in you and you're ready to connect to your own inner wildness, then check us out online on Instagram at Step Into Your Wild, or go on over to www.stepintoyourwild.com to learn more about our coaching services and wilderness academies offered through Walker's School of the Wild. Look, this is real work for real people who want to live with more clarity, more purpose, and more strength, but you don't have to figure it out alone. Let's walk this road together. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and stay wild.